Sarah Langs from MLB.com. We get emails from you every day, Sarah, with the best from StatCast. So let's touch on three of the most pressing topics. And I want to start with Mike Trout. We just saw him before the break, and he's having one of his best offensive seasons. I feel like I'm on repeat saying that just about every year. But what's different this year, Sarah?
So one of the things that's different this year, and it's true, I feel like every year it's his best year since the year before, and that's just going to keep going until he retires. But one of the things that's different this year, and I know people have been pointing this out, is that he does have a lower launch angle. But I think we need to dig into this a little bit more, because it's not just as simple as, oh, lower launch angle, and he's playing so well. What's going on right now is that his sweet spot rate is close to the highest that we've ever seen from him. So sweet spot rate is another metric that we can use that's about launch angle, but it's another way to look at it. So launch angle is just going to tell you the average of every single batted ball he's had and what the launch angle has been combined, an average, like we learned in math in sixth grade, right? But sweet spot rate, that's going to take a slightly different approach. So the launch angle sweet spot, according to StatCast, is from 8 to 32 degrees. So what that's going to tell you is how much of the time he's making contact in that range. So we're going to be basically giving more credit for being right there. And I think that's a better way to look at this, because an average can definitely get swayed by a couple that are really high launch angles or really low. But when you make that sweet spot contact, you're going to hit about 500 on those batted balls with a slugging percentage that's above 1,000. And he's doing more of that than he did last season when he was also really good. And I think that's on pace for the third or fourth highest of his career, tracked by StatCast, which is since 2015. So I know it's really easy to look at his page and say, okay, lower launch angle and he's doing better, but it's a little bit more nuanced than that. And I think that's important to note.
Perfectly explained. That's why we have you here for that. And I remember in the offseason, too, Ken Rosenthal wrote a piece about how Trout was like, my swing's been not exactly where I want it to be for the past year and a half. Okay, now leave it. Exactly like that. Just leave it like it is, Mike. Same thing with Tyler Glasnow. Whatever he's got going right now, it's working. It's perfect. He's a Cy Young contender in the American League. So how is it all coming together for him this year?
Absolutely. So the thing that jumps out to me with him is that his arsenal has changed. He has that slider this year, and it's been really good for him. So we know he throws 97. We know that he has a really good curveball, but what he's added this year is the slider, and he has a 40% whiff rate or higher on both his slider and his curveball. So whiff rate, very simple. It's just percentage of swings against that pitch that are missed. And if you look at this list, there are only 3 guys who've gotten at least 50 swings against multiple pitch types and had a 40+ whiff rate on that. So that's elite whiff rate. The MLB average whiff rate is right around 30%. So we're talking best of the best here. It's fun to see German Marquez on this list, and that's a whole separate conversation. But when you're seeing him in that Shane Bieber territory, and German Marquez is a guy who is known to have great stuff, we just need to see him pitch out of Colorado, that's a really good list to be on. And adding that slider puts Glasnow into this conversation. It really gives him something else to rely on, so we're not just thinking fastball change with him with some of that curveball in there, but he's using that slider second most of any pitch, and it's been great for him, and it just keeps hitters off balance.
He was getting by with 2 pitches. Now it's just ridiculous. This is all coming together for Tyler Glasnow, and it's cool to point out, he throws upper 90s, but look at the 2 secondary pitches. Okay, and finally, Dan Plesac and I called the YouTube game yesterday, Brewers and Cardinals. We got to watch Alex Reyes work in the 9th inning, and I'm going to talk to Dan in a moment about if they should leave him in a relief spot. But looking through his StatCast metrics, he walks guys, Sarah, but he doesn't give up hits. So what do you think? Are the underlying numbers saying something about his success out of the bullpen? And even for fantasy baseball players, like, should they buy into Alex Reyes right now, or there could be tough times ahead?
Well, it's interesting. I mean, the question is he lucky? Is he good? Is it both? And it's really a combination of both. So if you look at some of the underlying metrics, and I took a look at his expected ERA, which is based on the quality of contact and also does consider those walks and strikeouts, and also his fielding independent pitching, which is just something else that's taking the defense behind him out of it. You can see that those are still good numbers. A 3.69 ERA is still good, maybe a little high for a reliever, but that's still good. 2 295, same thing. So what this is to show you is that he is definitely getting pretty lucky. Now, it's not just luck. He has outstanding defense behind him. He has Nolan Arenado playing behind him. So that's going to continue. So it's not as simple as just luck. But what this is telling you is it's going to return to the mean a little bit, but he's still not pitching poorly. And I think that's important to note. The contact hasn't been awful. The contact has not been reflective of someone who should have a 7 ERA or something like that. But you mentioned the walks, and his 20% walk rate does jump off the page when you look at it. And I don't play fantasy baseball, so I don't know all the categories, but I would guess that that's not something you would want, especially if whip is a category, which is what I'm going to guess that it is. So I would say until he really works on that control, I'm not sure he's a great choice there, but I do think that what he's doing for the Cardinals is maybe a little exaggerated. Maybe it shouldn't be quite as good, but it's been really valuable for them, and I expect it to continue.
Yeah, whip is a category for most, at least. Saves is too, so he's giving you the pros and the cons, and he's racking up saves right now for a first-place team in the NL Central. Sarah, thank you so much. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.